Why is it important to attend Hajj classes? Some people take Hajj very lightly. It's just a trip. Khalas, as I go about the a'mal of Hajj, I can just ask and learn while I am there. Hajj, my dear brothers and sisters, is not like a normal act of worship. It's very detailed. It's very technical. The steps, the timings, the things that you're supposed to do and the things that you're not supposed to do, what you're supposed to avoid, it's very complicated, brothers and sisters. And if it's your first time going to Hajj, it is very important for you to have awareness, to have that knowledge of the a'mal of the Hajj. And this is the point of this class, is to give you that overview so you're not surprised. So when you go to Hajj, I never knew this, nobody told me this. And another aspect that adds to the complexity of Hajj is that there are different maraji, and I'll talk about this in a minute, taqleed. And the maraji, different maraji will have different rulings sometimes. And these rulings will make a big difference in your Hajj. Some maraji will say, you're allowed to do this. Other maraji, you're not allowed to do this. Certain maraji tell you that this invalidates your Hajj, this doesn't. So because there's the second layer of taqleed and our maraji giving us the fatwas, this also makes Hajj a little more complex. Now, this shouldn't be alarming to you because we can learn. Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us the capacity to learn. So we can learn the ahkam of our maraji. It's not the end of the world, or it's not something too difficult. So if you want to really enjoy Hajj, you want to get the full benefits of Hajj spiritually, and you want to make sure that you do it right, it's important that you attend a class that explains to you the laws of Hajj. There's a hadith I want to share with you that shows how deep Hajj really is. There's a companion of Al-Imam As-Sadiq by the name of Zurara. He goes and visits the Imam one day, and he tells him, he asks him about some things regarding Hajj, some laws of Hajj, and then he tells him, I've been asking you and your father, Al-Imam Al-Baqir, for 40 years now. See, Zurara himself was a scholar. He says, for 40 years, I've been asking you about Hajj, and you still give me new answers. I'm still learning new things. And there's so much when it comes to Hajj. He's surprised. The Imam tells him, Ya Zurara, بيت حج إليه قبل آدم بألفي عام تريد أن تفنى مسائله في 40 عاما. Look at the answer of the Imam. He said, look at the history of Hajj, the origin of Hajj. The Kaaba, where even before Prophet Adam, angels of Allah would go and perform tawaf, they would do Hajj. Thousands of years ago. You want to consolidate and summarize the ahkam of Hajj in 40 years. Al-Imam As-Sadiq in this hadith, he sees it's not enough because it's so vast, it has such a long history from before human beings, Adam, Ibrahim, every single prophet. So this shows us, my dear brothers and sisters, that Hajj is very rich, it's so layered, and even scholars, they take so many years of their lives to fully understand and grasp Hajj in a way in which they can benefit from it, from its full potential. Now, there's another aspect, unfortunately, that makes Hajj complex, and that's a man-made problem. And that problem is, you'll realize, inshallah, when you go to Hajj, is the landmarks of the areas that we perform Hajj on, they keep on changing. So Hajj, during the time of Rasulullah and the Imams, was not like the Hajj that you will see now. Why? Because unfortunately, the government in Saudi Arabia keeps on changing some of these areas. They keep on playing with it. They keep on expanding, and sometimes they do it. Expanding is good, but sometimes they do it at the cost of what? Of erasing and removing the original locations of those landmarks. For example, when you go to Jamarat right now, you will see that it's 4 or 5 stories, right? Jamarat was originally a hill, like a small mountain, and you were supposed to go and throw the stones on the mountain. Now you'll go as on the mountain has been completely removed. So what do you stone? They've brought their own columns, these concrete columns that they've put, and they tell you, yalla, throw your rocks at these columns. Now, are these columns exactly where that mountain was, or is it somewhere different, right? There's different levels. Like if you're on the 4th or 5th, what are you really stoning? The hill wasn't that big. So all of these issues, unfortunately, they make Hajj more complex because the Imams told us, do Hajj in this specific way. And when Hajj is changed, when the dynamics and when the landmarks are changed, then we have to try our best to perform Hajj in the original way. Now, sometimes it's not going to be possible. Khalas, they just completely change something. But sometimes it is possible. You will find these changes in the sa'i. We will go over them. You'll find these changes in the tawaf, in the different stories of tawaf. Arafah, Muzdalifah, and almost every part of Hajj, you will hear this, whether it's from me, from any other scholar, that before this area was not Arafah. Now the Saudi Arabian government, they just extended the map to include this area. Can you do this? Now, with towns and cities, you can do that because these are man-made concepts. But when they are concepts or when they are areas that Allah Azza wa Jal has legislated and defined, we human beings can't come and play. We can't come and change the locations and the sizes and whatnot of these areas. So that's another reason why Hajj has become somewhat complex, because of these changes that the areas they are undergoing. And every year there's a new change. So even since the last time I went to Hajj, and now there are some changes that maybe even will be new to me, inshallah, when I'm able to go to Hajj with you. But at the end of the day, our ulama, sometimes they give us some very clear guidance. You know, make sure you do your Hajj in this specific way. Don't just follow the masses, because the masses, they just, whatever the government tells them, they do. Even if it has no significance, even if it's an innovation, even if it's an invention, we have to try to stick to the original Hajj of Rasulullah and the Imams. And that's why you'll notice, real quick, I'll mention in the sa'i, we do the sa'i, the walk between as-Safa wal Marwa. Now, when you begin, you go from as-Safa to al-Marwa, you have no issues. Coming back is problematic. Why? Because they extended and expanded the area so much, such that the place where you come back from the Marwa to the Safa, it's not between as-Safa and Marwa, the original Safa and Marwa. It's like outside Aslan of Masjid al-Haram, outside of that area. So when you go in that area, you're not actually walking between Safa and Marwa. The Quran, the Prophet, the Imams, they said you have to walk between Safa and Marwa. So imagine they come and they extend that place, that walkway, such that it's no longer between Safa and Marwa. Can you just go with the flow? No. We have to take our religion seriously. So is there a way out? Yes, there's a way out. You have to stick to the left side, and you have to be precise and make sure that the place that you walk fits in the original mas'a that used to be there. We'll talk about that, but I just want you to understand that it's not an option to go with the flow. Just see what everyone else is doing. No, because there have been so many changes and innovations that we cannot just follow. You have to really know every part of your Hajj. Does this fall in line with the original Hajj or no? Sometimes you can't, but if you can, then you have to follow the original Hajj. So, inshallah, after attending these courses, my dear brothers and sisters, you'll be able to avoid common mistakes that are usually performed by some people who don't take these notes and don't take this seriously, and they may regret later. And some of the mistakes that we commit in Hajj, brothers and sisters, they have consequences. Some of the consequences are not that big. You have to like slaughter a sheep, right? Kafara. Sometimes you'll have to redo your whole amal when you're there. You have to go redo the whole tawaf. Sometimes, unfortunately, and inshallah no one falls into these types of problems, sometimes if they're severe, it may invalidate your entire Hajj. So that's why do not take the laws of Hajj lightly, brothers and sisters. We want you, inshallah, to perform a correct Hajj that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be happy with, and that so you can come back from Hajj with this obligation completely taken care of. And trust me, brothers and sisters, I've taught this Hajj class before. If you attend these 5 courses, you take notes, you go over them, and we're recording all of this live stream. It'll be on YouTube. You can go back and listen to them again. Trust me, your Hajj experience will be so much easier. You will not be constantly surprised and shocked and what's going on, and you're confused, constantly making mistakes. Aslan, you will be as if someone who's already went to Hajj. And I have personally heard this from some individuals in the past before COVID, who they took these Hajj courses and it made Hajj so much easier for them. Because this is a step-by-step guide, and inshallah I'll go over the detailed laws of Hajj, inshallah. So make sure that you don't just treat this like a lecture. I'm just listening to a lecture. No, this is, take notes, please. There are points I will emphasize. Please take them seriously. Because if you don't, then most likely you will fall into those common mistakes. Not trying to scare you or anything, but just want you to take this seriously. Many of us, we're just going to go to Hajj one time in our lives. We're spending all this money. We're taking time out of our jobs. So make it worthwhile and try to do the best that you can. And this will help. So having said all of that, let's begin with our, inshallah, the laws of Hajj. Now, this class I've divided into 2 parts. The first part is the prerequisites of Hajj, meaning things that you need to know before going to Hajj, things you need to know and do. And then number 2, things that you need to know and do while you're in Hajj. So I'll begin with the first one, and this is all from the perspective of the laws and rulings of Hajj. So I'm not going to give you tips and instructions on what clothes to buy or what type of bag to buy and stuff like that. That's not really the focus of this class. It's more the Islamic laws and rulings, the Islamic aspect of it. It's not just general tips and tricks, what type of jacket to wear, what type of, carry-on to take, even though there's a lot of good tips on that you should ask people who have went to Hajj. But this is mostly focused on the Shar'i aspect of Hajj.